Well, as airlines and frustrated travelers try to figure out how the FAA's flight reduction will impact them, the Department of Transportation is continuing to warn that if this shutdown doesn't end soon, air travel will only get worse. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy joins me now for more. This is what I love about breaking news and how we roll on streaming. You're in the building, we grab you, and here we are on set.
You did not let me out of the building, which I'll take.
I refuse to let you until you answer all my questions. It's so good to see you, Secretary.
It's good to see you too. Thanks
all right,
for having me.
Seriously, we're coming up on Thanksgiving, all the holidays, Christmas. We all have to fly to get everywhere we need to go, whether it's with our family or for work or even things like a funeral. I mean, passengers are really freaking out right now. And I just saw that you said this morning that the data caused you to put this flight cap into place because you've been concerned about, dangerous events that could happen. What are you worried about?
So, first of all, I look back to the DCA air crash, right? And the only comparison I want to make is on data. Data wasn't looked at to see we had near misses between helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft. The lesson we learned is look at the data. And so we see a couple trend lines going in the wrong direction, which made us say we have to take additional measures to reduce the pressure on our air traffic controllers and on the airspace. And so at the start, we were going to take an immediate 10% out of the system. Well, then the safety team at the FAA came back and said, well, we think it's safer if we stagger that approach. We'll maintain that safety, but get to 10% over the course of a week, which is exactly what we've done. So I didn't pull these numbers out myself. The safety team at the FAA looked at the data, briefed us, and made the recommendations that we're now implementing. But you can't, you can't have controllers calling out sick and then think we can run the same amount of aircraft with less controllers. It just doesn't work.
It's impossible because, and boy, we will never forget that crash. And I was on the air for hours.
Yeah.
That was where you came, you talk about, being in the hot seat. That was your big moment in front of all the networks with such a huge story. And you talked, it was because of things that you said, we learned more about the close calls and the air traffic controllers that have been overworked and underpaid. And you sort of alluded that, things could get worse. And now here we are in a government shutdown, and we are seeing this all play out in real time. Yeah. Okay, so you're trying to by lessening flights, hopefully that decreases any chances of near misses and other problems because it's coming to a tipping point for sure. You talked about airspace closures. Is that still on the table, and what would that look like?
So when I talk about airspace closures, if let's say in Orlando, all my controllers don't show up for work, well, we'll do a ground stop, and in essence, you almost are closing that airspace, right? So it's not that we have a swath of the country that I'm going to close. So let's put that aside. This is, I don't know, if you look back at Newark, okay, we had an issue with telecom.
Right.
Telecom went down twice for 30 seconds.
And we covered that, yes.
But if you think back to that, we actually reduced the number of flights in and out of Newark. We reduced the capacity, and then flights started to fly on time. There were minimal delays and minimal cancellations. If we continue with the same controller force, the same numbers keep coming in, we think we can reduce delays and reduce cancellations, which is a positive. Now, this is the concern I have. On Wednesday, air traffic controllers are going to miss their full second payment. Okay, that's a problem in that a lot of controllers have told me a lot of us can deal with missing one pay period. Almost all of us can't afford to miss two pay periods. And if our great controllers then choose to go take a second job or take a different job, all of a sudden that's going to create way more disruption in the airspace. And then not only we reduce flights by 10%, and we're going to then continue to have these other measures of delays and cancellations. And again, I'm bringing my kids home from college. What do you do? Well, I want to work with...
They might be biking home.
Well, they're in Dallas. This is going to be a long bike.
Well...
We're going to come to New Jersey. But what we do is we see, I want to book with a great airline that's going to work with me. If there is a cancellation, how do my kids get rebooked? Because I want them to be home with their family. And so I look at the airline, and then I follow the news. But if you're a passenger, follow the news. What's happening in the airspace? What's happening with controllers? What's happening coming into the holiday season? And my hope is that this government government shutdown will end soon, and we can get back to the business of letting Americans travel.
Everybody is saying that they hope that this ends soon. Look, you're meeting with the president. You're in the Oval. You're a big player in all of this. Are you seeing him in any way, shape, or form willing to step in and say, okay, enough is enough. We've got to have our military paid. We've all got to be able to fly and get around to work and to family. We need to pay our families that need their SNAP benefits. He's got it.
Okay, hold on. That is the wrong question.
Okay,
not
tell
to
me.
be offensive.
No, tell me why that's the right question. Why is that the wrong question? Because you have influence, you have his ear.
Well, so in the Congress, they said let's do a clean funding bill, meaning the funding from the end of September is going to be the same in October, right? No changes. It's Democrats who said they want to shut down the government and use that as leverage to get what they want, not going through the legislative process, but going through the leverage process. And if you say we're going to allow these leverage techniques to work today, they will never end. You know how the process works. You have elections,
right.
And so you get House members, Senate members, and a president. They work on legislation. There's a process in which you go through to pass bills. But shutting down the government and then say that's the president's fault when he isn't saying we should change anything with regard to funding, it's Democrats who are doing that. And so to be clear, Republicans 14 times have voted to open the government up, and every time the Democrats, because you have the filibuster rule, you need 60 votes in the Senate to pass any bill. You need Democrats to vote with Republicans in the Senate to pass a funding bill, and they're not doing it. They're voting to keep the government closed. So the president can't negotiate against himself, right? He has nothing to give up because he hasn't asked for anything. So what does he give up? Well, as Democrats have to say, I'm going to stop this. I'm going to go through the legislative process. That's the way this has to work.
All right. Should people book or cancel their Thanksgiving flights?
Listen, I booked my kids' flights. Book your flights. Because, again, the government can open back up. We could have controllers coming to work. And then you're going to be stuck booking a week before you want to travel, and you're going to pay way more money, and you're going to be angry. So book it now with an airline that if they cancel you, they'll refund you. And if they move you, you're going to be okay with it.
Glad you could stop by.
Thanks for having me.
I know it was last minute.
I appreciate
you.
it.
All right.
Thanks.
Sean Duffy.